What would happen if Volo actually won? What would become of Arceus and the Sinnoh region if Volo got what he wanted? It's the true climax of Pokemon Legends Arceus, the player character against Volo. And while it looks like the player character is about to win, Giratina's sudden change to its origin form throws the player by surprise. Volo finishes the battle, ending the player's life right there. Volo has now won, and he has his eyes set upon Arceus. Picking up the remaining plates and the Celestica flute from the defeated player, the Celestica flute transforms into the Azure flute, and upon playing it, the staircase to the Hall of Origin appears. But as Volo climbs up all the way, he's met with emptiness. Arceus is not there. As Volo cries out for Arceus, his call is met with deaf ears. He climbs back down the stairs in frustration and anger, wondering why, even after everything he did to reach Arceus, he still isn't deemed worthy. And then the anger gives way to something quieter, to sadness, to tears. And here, the game shows us a part of Volo's life that Legends Arceus never did. We see a younger Volo. We see his mother and the rest of the Celestica people, the ancient people of Sinnoh, and just how deeply they loved and worshipped Arceus. We see them tell a small boy that he's worthy of the creator simply because the blood of the ancient Sinnoh people runs through his veins. And we see what those words did to him, how that belief and the love of his people kindled a fascination with Arceus and the world that would come to define his entire life. Then we see it taken away. An unknown disaster claims the lives of his mother and nearly all of his people, showing why there's so little of them left. And through this, we feel the heartbreak that consumed him. The same boy who had a deep love and curiosity for life is now asking why life could be so unfair. The very question he confessed at the Celestica ruins. He told us he chose to pour all of that pain into curiosity and ambition, but now we understand what that sentence truly meant. We watched that pain curdle into something else, into vengeance, into a quiet growing hatred for the creator who let his people suffer and perish, and into a single desperate longing to tear down the god who failed them and build a perfect world in its place, a world without suffering and a world without loss. Volo continues to walk down and grits his teeth. He may have been denied now, but his vengeance is too strong to just give up here. He begins to formulate a plan to see Arceus again that will require decades and centuries to execute, but he is willing to wait however long it takes to get there. Volo disguises himself back as a simple merchant and heads down to Jubilife Village, where he claims that the player character has returned home, that Almighty Sinnoh, another entity outside of Dialga and Palkia known as Arceus, has sent them back and has appointed Volo as his voice, as his messenger, and Volo presents the Azure Flute and the Arc Phone to the people. The people of Hisui have no reason not to trust Volo, but at the same time, they're quite suspicious. Volo then tries to prove it through battle, as he emerges victorious battle after battle. People begin to think that maybe what he's saying is true. After all, the ancient hero and the player character both were unrivaled wielders of Pokemon, and if Volo suddenly gained this power as well, it may be a sign from Almighty Sinnoh itself. Bear in mind, Volo has said nothing about the existence of Giratina to anyone, and while people begin to trust him, it's hard to ignore the absence of the player character. And people know that they went to Mount Coronet together as well, so people are still suspicious, but they can't find any trace of the player, so they really only have Volo's word to go off of, and they have no reason not to believe him either. Kogita is the one person who could piece together what's happened, either through logic or intuition. But before anyone could meet her, Volo gets Giratina to trap her in the distortion world, causing for her sudden disappearance as well. Hisui is divided on what needs to happen and who to trust, but Volo stays firm and preaches the words of Arceus and Almighty Sinnoh. He's no longer a merchant, he's a wandering preacher, but the reason as to why he's wandering is to find a way to either stay alive for as long as he needs to, or jump forward in time to when the player character will become a trainer in Sinnoh, because Volo knew that we were from the future, and he knows that Arceus has deemed us worthy. All he needs to do to meet Arceus is to find a way to stay alive for that moment, so he can finally strike. He could obviously use Dialga and Palkia's powers, but Laventon decided to release all of the Pokemon that the player caught upon their supposed return to their time, as he felt the only one fit to wield such Pokemon was the player. And since the legendary's return, no one, not even the Diamond or Pearl clans, heard from Dialga and Palkia ever again. Volo in frustration heads to the distortion world to speak to Kogita. Kogita, being a woman of great wisdom, may have a way or secrets to share that can help Volo execute his plan. But when he arrives, he's shocked to see that Kogita looks a bit younger than when he first trapped her there. In a few years' time, it doesn't look like she aged at all. In fact, it looks like her aging has reversed. Volo realizes that as everything functions differently in the distortion world, almost as a reverse of our own world, he can reverse his aging just by spending time in the distortion world.
You know, I came all this way to wring your secrets out of you, Kogita. Every last one. But you've already told me everything I needed simply by standing there. How's that for irony?
Crow if you like, Lost One. But hear me, and hear me well. The life that you ended will be the very same life to end yours.
Volo erupts into disgust and frustration. He didn't end Kogita's life earlier as he's one of his own. She's a Celestica, but this comment of hers hurt Volo's pride and ego so hard that he just says to her,
You wretched old woman. How dare you! I've spared you this long out of respect for our blood. You are Celestica. You are the last of my people besides myself. But it seems I will be the last of our people, after all.
and ends her life with no mercy. He gets rid of her body and his anger turns into a cunning smile. He spends the next few years waiting in the distortion world, with the people of Hisui wondering why Volo has now disappeared as well. But when Volo returns from the distortion world, people can see that he hasn't aged at all, whereas they have all significantly aged. They mark this as a sign of divine providence, that Volo's claims really are true, and so the masses finally begin to follow him, and Volo's true plan gets set in motion. Volo renames the Hisui region into the Sinnoh region as a name to remember his own people by, and he begins to set up a church to worship Arceus, but really, this is just a church where he gets to do what he wants and say whatever he wants to all the people who blindly listen to him, which at this point is a lot. And as years and years go by and people wither and perish, people are born and raised, but Volo remains just the same, just disappearing for periods of time here and there to go and speak to Almighty Sinnoh, to provide rituals or means of worship to Arceus, or so he says. But really, he just spends time in the distortion world, letting his influence and followers spread across the world as he's waiting. And as his influence grows and grows, he has no doubt that when the player character is born again, they will inevitably walk up right to Volo. And with the power that Volo possesses, Volo feels that he can pull the strings to anything and get everything to go his way. And I can get things to go my way by getting you all to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon, right? I mean, at this point, I know you're watching the rest of this video, so you might as well. Fast forward to the modern era, the Sinnoh era, the world of Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, and a few things have changed. For starters, in this universe, Cynthia no longer exists. Kogita being taken out and Volo being the head of the church means that there is no room for either of them to have children of their own and continue the ancient Sinnoh bloodline, which goes back to Volo's line about being the last of his kind. Sinnoh itself no longer has gyms or an Elite Four or anything. Instead, it has rituals and trials set up, similar to that of Hisui of taming an alpha or noble Pokemon. But in general, the status of Pokemon battles in Sinnoh is weaker than most regions. They're not so battle hungry, as with the influence of the church, it's become a region focused more on worship. But Volo still has these trials set up so that the player character after they're born can get the strength that Arceus wanted them to be at, so that it still deems them worthy. That's the catch there, that Volo can't actually impede our growth or strength because it's still a necessary part of his plan. Giratina is also a Pokemon that never makes the Pokedex. Arceus may be known about, but Giratina, as far as everyone else is aware, is a complete mystery that no one knows about except Volo. When Volo is resting for some years, possibly even a decade or so in the distortion world, the player character is born, and their journey finally begins. While they don't have any gyms to conquer or anything, Lucas, Don, and Barry all still have the same task of trying to complete the Pokedex for Professor Rowan, and at least the player character in Barry will still go about completing the trials in substitute for the gym battles. So really, the kids in Professor Rowan's journey and progression doesn't change too much at all. But you know what would definitely change? Cyrus and Team Galactic. Cyrus's core belief stays exactly what it always was, that the human heart is the source of all suffering, that emotion is the flaw in the world, and that the only fix is to tear it all down and rebuild it cold. That part is untouched. But in this timeline, Cyrus isn't just disgusted with the world in abstract, he has a target. He watches the people of Sinnoh flock to Volo's church like sheep, watches them weep and pray and pour their hearts out at the feet of a man claiming to speak for God. And to Cyrus, that devotion isn't beautiful, it's the disease itself on full display. The church doesn't just offend him, it proves him right. It becomes one more reason to burn the world down and start again. While building Team Galactic, Cyrus's investigations keep brushing up against the church, and against something older. he uncovers the notes of his ancestor Cylene. Centuries ago, Cylene was one of the few in Hisui who never fully knelt to Volo. She had served the player character not just as a commander, but as something closer to a mother. And when the player vanished and Volo's story didn't add up, she wrote down her suspicions. Her notes lay out everything she pieced together, that Volo was corrupt and that his miracles of non-aging were far more sinister, that the man was chasing the birth of a new world with himself at its center. And reading those notes does something that Cylene never intended. It inspires Cyrus. If one man could set out to remake the world in his own image, then so could he, and he could do it right. The difference between them is everything. Volo wants to seize the world and rule it, to take Arceus' throne because he's convinced that he'd wear the crown better, whereas Cyrus wants to take the opposite route, a world of silence, with no throne at all, no emotion, no spirit, no conflict, and no one left to suffer or to kneel. Both men want to end suffering, but one wants to become a god, and the other wants to make sure no god and no heart ever exists again. So where it stands, the story of Sinnoh has three driving forces. The player characters and the protagonists, who are all doing hero-like things with the player destined to meet Arceus. Volo and the church, who Volo is manipulating solely to gain power and influence in a hope to meet the player and bend situations to his will to overthrow Arceus and be the god of a new world. And Cyrus and Team Galactic, who are out to create their own new world without emotion with the power of Dialga and Palkia. Why hasn't Volo used the power of Dialga and Palkia for himself? Well, it's likely that the Lake Trio and Dialga and Palkia would know what's really going on with Volo. The Lake Trio for sure. And because of his role in the world as a false prophet or false messenger, he can't really subject these legendaries by force, so he can't really risk any failure here. Waiting and biding time was always the safest and strongest move. Team Galactic as a unit is a lot bigger because as the church has gotten a lot of people to follow them, there's a whole lot of people who are now against them as well. And with Cyrus being able to frame part of his team's agenda as a faction against the church, he's able to get members for that reason alone, whether they agree or disagree with the rest of Team Galactic. And since Volo's faction is so mainstream, Rowan and the other figures of authority naturally try to stop Team Galactic as per usual. It isn't until you reach Hearthome City where you finally get to enter the Hearthome Church, which is now known as the Church of the Celestica. As you enter, Volo is said to have recently returned from his decade-long time of meetings and worship with Arceus, and sees you, the player character, and the other children enter the church together. And as he sees you, he's in shock, but quietly gathers his composure and apologizes as he was just happy and shocked to see such young faces be interested in learning the ways of Arceus and the world.
Forgive an old man his surprise. It's only that it does this weary heart such good to see faces so young come seeking the ways of Arceus. Please, come in. Sit. Pay my fumbling no mind. Where to begin? Where to begin? How our world came to be, perhaps. Oh, it's a marvelous tale, and I do so love the telling of it. Settle in, my young friends.
He spends time with all three of you, taking you through the history of the Sinnoh region in Hisui, the history that he forged, but of course, this is the history that the people know to believe. He then hears about how the three of you have been stopping Team Galactic and thanks you for your efforts, further antagonizing them and offering you support when needed. And as the three of you are about to leave, he asks you specifically to stay back for a moment and begins to talk to you.
Ah, a moment, would you? Just you. Humor an old man. Tell me something, child. Have you ever met Arceus? Not heard of it, not prayed to it, met it, face to face. Have you ever wished to? No, of course not. You don't remember a thing, do you? No matter at all. Grow strong, little one. Show this world that people and Pokemon can walk as one, truly as one. And who can say? Perhaps one day Arceus will come down to meet you. Do hurry though, won't you? I'm afraid I've waited a very long time already.
And walks off with a grin. The kids continue their journeys and continue to face off against Team Galactic. As they get closer and closer to the climax of the story, the Team Galactic admins start to speak up about how Volo is the true evil one here, and that everyone else is ignorant to his ways. The kids brush it aside, but things start to add up, and they can't necessarily ignore it anymore. But at the same time, they have to stop Team Galactic, and specifically Cyrus, from reaching Spear Pillar. As you move into Mount Coronet, Volo and the members of the church come in to support you, and take on on many of the Team Galactic grunts themselves. Volo forges a path for you, and the kids and Professor Rowan rush towards Cyrus. And while you have your doubts, you seize the opportunity. Using the red chain, Cyrus summons both Dialga and Palkia and strives to create a new world. You alone take him on, as the other two kids have to take on the Galactic admins. Rowan sees this clash and notices that someone is witnessing everything from the distance. The battle ends and you stop Cyrus. He laments about the world he wished to create, but he doesn't let his emotions get the better of his dignity. And just as you're about to free Dialga and Palkia, an eldritch presence begins to overwhelm everyone in Spear Pillar, and Volo slowly steps in. Giratina emerges in front of Dialga and Palkia, facing the people in Spear Pillar, and Volo walks up with a menacing laugh. He thanks Cyrus for bringing the other members of the Creation Trio to him, as he could never do it himself, and tells everyone the truth of his plans, everything he's created, and the player character, that he's been waiting all this time for this moment to create his perfect world, where he himself is God, and that with Dialga, Palkia, Giratina, and the hero of Hisui in hand, that Arceus has no choice but to appear before him now, and all that's left here is to take out everyone else who stands in his way. The Team Galactic grunts and the members of the church and Mount Cornet see this and fall to their knees. Team Galactic in the devastation that their mission failed and that they failed to stop Volo, and the members of the church in horror as they realize that Team Galactic was right about Volo, and the feeling of utter betrayal echoing through their bodies. All of Sinnoh is at risk, and a battle begins with a 6-on-6 between the player character and Volo, who now uses Cynthia's exact platinum team, substituting for the champion fight. And once Volo is defeated, just like in Legends Arceus, Volo strikes back with Giratina. But this time, Giratina, under Volo's influence all these years, is enraged and much stronger. And so Dawn, Lucas, Barry, and Cyrus all fight together in a raid battle against Giratina, the only one of its kind in this game. Cyrus, while not on your side as such, hates Volo more than anyone else, and has ample reason to team up with you. This raid battle, of course, has two phases, one of which with regular Giratina in the real world, and another where once Volo gets frustrated at Giratina's loss, sends the four of you into the distortion world to face Origin Form Giratina in an inverse raid battle, meaning every attack that was weak is now super effective and vice versa. A battle that will be remembered forever. And upon victory, Giratina is finally freed from Volo's grasp and influence. Volo is horrified and the five of you are sent back into the real world. Volo is in agony, centuries of waiting just for it all to be crushed in a few moments. He becomes hysterical and goes crazy, wondering why he has to suffer this fate, when people such as the player are blessed with such fortune. The other characters try to calm him down, with Cyrus mentioning that this is the suffering that human emotions can cause, but no one is successful.
What did I lack? Tell me! Somebody! Arceus! Tell me what I was missing!
Volo goes insane and tries to physically attack the player character, and just as he's about to, all three members of the Creation Trio stop him. Giratina creates a small space time rift beneath his feet, preventing him from going anywhere, and Dialga and Palkia punish him for breaking the laws of time and space, and all the years he escaped the aging from is given to him in the form of light, of energy sent by the both of them. Volo's body begins to slowly transform into the same light that he was hit by. Rather than him aging and passing with suffering, his body slowly and peacefully breaks into this energy. As Volo looks up into the sky, wondering why Arceus never heard his call, why Arceus never answered him, he reaches out with his hand, and from above in his vision alone, he sees the hand of his mother and his clan reach out below him, and he states,
Mother, everyone, I've missed you all.
And as he grabs their hand, the rest of his body evaporates into the eternal nothingness. Everyone within Mount Cornet observes this, and once Volo is gone, the Azure Flute drops from his body. The Creation Trio waits there and signals the player character to use the flute. The player character is unsure what to do, but the Creation Trio urges them one more time, and instinctively, the player character plays the same tune from Hisui. The Creation Trio lets out a cry and disperse as the steps leading to the Hall of Origin appear once again. And from above, a voice tells you, the heroes and the main Team Galactic members, to all come up. Everyone looks at each other and hesitates, but they all go up together. When they reach the top, the Hall of Origin looks empty, but as they turn to leave, Arceus appears behind them. Arceus looks specifically at the player and says that it's been waiting for you for a few hundred years, as it has a message that it's been wanting to share with you and all of humanity.
Welcome, my children. You may not be Pokemon, but as you are a part of this creation, you are still very much my own. I once doubted you. Then I met the ancient hero. And then I met this child, and I saw what you are all capable of. The highest good, the lowest cruelty, and everything in between. Always free to choose. And you, child, I reached across time and space and pulled you from your sky because I wanted you to save them. And it cost you your life. That was mine to carry, and I did not carry it. Perhaps had I never reached at all, another would have risen in your place and shown this world what people and Pokemon could be together. Perhaps even Volo would have found a gentler end. I will never know. I only know what it cost you. So I did not reach again. Not once. I watched, no matter what happened below, and left this world to walk its own path.
Arceus, answer me this if you'll indulge an old man. Where did you come from? How was any of this world made?
I do not know. I woke in an endless nothing. When I wished to create, the unknown answered, and shaped it alongside me. I never learned who sent them. It may be that something stands above even me. After all, somewhere there is a world where the hero of Hisui survived that battle. An infinite number of worlds and universes, all leading to something I do not know of. Or perhaps to nothing at all. You, child, do you believe my world is flawed?
Yes, no doubt. A world which has emotions, a human heart, is a world in which suffering can exist, and a world with suffering is flawed.
Then you have never seen a world without it. You would tear the heart out of this world, but it was your heart that carried you here. Strip it away and the man who wanted better dies with it. Look at what sits in your hand. That Pokemon did not change because you commanded it to. It changed because it loved you. Whatever you believe about yourself, it did not evolve for nothing. Do not condemn what you feel. Wield it. Whatever you build with it, build it well. That much is yours.
Hang on, I gotta ask. I have to ask. Volo was... he was awful. He was the worst. I know that, but he was... he was hurting. The whole time, for all these years. So why didn't you answer him?
Because he never asked a question. He made a demand. There is no answer to that, child. There is only the man who needs it. He wished to be worthy. He was already worthy. He had been since the day he was born, as everyone is, and he never once saw it. This one never demanded anything of me. They tended what was wounded. They calmed what was suffering. They looked at the world in front of them instead of the sky above it. And so I came down. My silence was not refusal. It meant there was nothing left to give him that he did not already have. After everything, after all of it, I am still grateful to you. I will go on watching. I will return when I must. But what comes next belongs to you now. To all of you. People and Pokemon both.
And before Arceus can convey its final message, you, knowing at last the truth of who you were, ask Arceus for one thing, that whatever it wants to say, it says to the whole world, not just to the few standing here, so that no one in this hall has to carry its words for it, so that no one ever has to be a messenger the way that Volo did, so that they can stay ordinary and simply live alongside everyone else. Arceus nods. The Hall of Origin begins to fade, and your group descends slowly back towards the ground of Spirit Pillar, as Arceus rises higher and higher above, and then across the whole of the sky, a vision blooms, and a voice reaches every person and every Pokemon alive at once.
My children, hear me. There is only one thing I have ever wanted from you. Live alongside each other, people and Pokemon both, and meet whatever comes together. Do that, and this world will flourish on its own. I need nothing more from anyone. I look forward to the future you will create together.
Countless lives are touched in that single moment, and the whole of the Pokemon world turns at last towards something new. The church, now hearing the truth of Volo, turns over a new leaf. The principles of people and Pokemon living in harmony are still intact, but the people of the church strive to put this in practice and create a better world the way Arceus wanted. Rowan and the other two kids record their findings and their discoveries and set forth to discover more about the myths and legends of the Pokemon world. Cyrus reflects upon everything that has happened, standing at the beach of Sunyshore City. There, he sees a little boy frustrated, trying to fix a broken toy. Cyrus looks at the boy and smiles and decides to help him fix it. And finally, we see the player character exploring an unknown part of Sinnoh, and they reach into their pockets where they pull out the Arc Phone, which is given to them at the end of the vision. The Arc Phone gave the player a map to follow, and upon reaching the end, the player sees their previous Pokemon from their past life waiting there in their Pokeballs. The Arc Phone rings, and Arceus' voice speaks up and says that it will give a fragment of its power to the player to help keep the world at peace, and that beyond the entities that govern the world, it took refuge of every one of the player's Pokemon, waiting for their return, and that these Pokemon are finally home now. Thanks for watching, and thanks to my members who support me on this channel. If you want to see more what ifs like this one, then be sure to subscribe and maybe even become a member to help create this kind of content. We have a few other what ifs on Red that you can check out here, and I'll see you guys over on the next video.